Great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Hackney Council's Planning Subcommittee meeting. My name is Councillor Steve Race. I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. The meeting will be recorded and is being live streamed on YouTube. Councillors taking part in voting this evening are present here in the chamber. If any councillors are joining the meeting remotely, can we only have one of my voices? That's the question.
Yeah, I've tried to use it.
Too many Steves. Well, is there ever? We've got, for those watching online, we've got a bit of feedback.
Just trying to
Can you hear me now? Oh yeah, all good, great. That's all we need to do, maybe. Let's hope so. Welcome to any residents or members of the press who are here to participate or to observe this evening's proceedings. For those participating in the meeting remotely via Google Meet, the virtual meeting technology does have a chat function. However, please only use this to raise IT-related issues. As chair of the subcommittee, I will not be monitoring it. In the event of an internet outage, we'll adjourn the meeting, then come back and start again. And I'd like to first introduce the members of the planning committee, planning subcommittee members who are here. We have Councillor Michael Desmond, right on cue. Thank you very much. Councillor Claire Joseph. We have Councillor Michael Levy, Councillor John Narcross, Councillor Claire Potter, and Councillor Jessica Webb. Welcome to those of you who are attending this committee. Next, I'll introduce council officers present at the meeting. To my left, we have John Sang, who is the DM and Enforcement Manager. To my right, we've got Gareth Sykes, who's the Governance Officer. And in the audience, we have Sam Woodhead, who's our Legal Officer for this evening. Some of you present in the room would have contacted Gareth, the Governance Officer, in advance of this evening's meeting to register to speak. Maybe not. Objectors to the applications and representatives of the applicant are also present in the room. Before we continue, I just want to briefly outline how the meeting will proceed. We'll hear each planning application in turn, summarised by the planning officer. We'll then hear a 5-minute statement from any objectors, followed by a 5-minute statement from any applicants. If there's more than one speaker from an applicant or an objector, they'll have to agree amongst themselves beforehand how they will split that 5-minute speaking time. Members of the planning subcommittee will then be free to ask questions of the planning officer, objectors, or the applicants. It's my role as chair of the planning subcommittee to ensure that members have all the information they need to make a decision, that objectors and applicants have the opportunity to set out the case, and that the meeting runs properly. On that note, I will not be taking any contributions from the floor. This is a meeting in public, not a public meeting. You must have given notice to the governance officer before the meeting if you want to speak. Deadline for registering to speak was 4 p.m. yesterday, and the list is now closed. Subcommittee members are not representing either their wards or their political parties. The subcommittee will make its decisions on the basis of any visits that they've made, what we've read in the published application report, and of course what we hear this evening. We must make any decision on an application in accordance with the Council's development plan, including Council's local plan LP33 and the London Plan 2021, unless relevant material planning considerations indicate otherwise. Can I emphasise that subcommittee members should not take into account or discuss non-material planning matters. When taking a decision, members should not have allowed themselves to prejudge any application prior to this meeting. Similarly, if a member has any interest relating to an application on the meeting agenda, they must consider whether that interest ought to be disclosed, and where appropriate, they must withdraw from the meeting while the application is discussed and voted upon. When we have finished our deliberations on a planning application on the agenda, we'll vote on the recommendation as set out in the published application report. And when the decision is made, that is normally the end of the matter for this subcommittee. The applicant may appeal our decision, and objectors may seek legal redress. I advise you to seek legal advice in either case. Finally, depending on how the meeting this evening progresses, we'll take a short break at an appropriate time. We'll now move to the published meeting agenda, beginning with apologies for absence. I believe we've got a couple.
I've received chair apologies for absence from Councillor Sadek and Councillor Laudert Scott.
And have we had any apologies for absence from Councillor Sarah Young?
Not that I'm aware of.
Anyone through the councillors? Has anyone heard from Councillor Young? No? Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest this evening? Yeah, one. Councillor Potter.
I realise I did a conversation outside this meeting with a woman here, so probably what I should do is not take part in the decision.
Okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. Yeah, fine. Great. Thank you very much, Councillor Potter. Is that for which item is that for?
Which item are you?
Sorry, so which one? There you go.
It's the application for 20 Clevedon Close, Smalley Road.
Great, thank you. So that is item 6. Luckily for you, the second item. Great, okay, thank you very much. Do we have any proposal or questions referred to the subcommittee by the Council's monitoring officer?
Sorry, just to interrupt there, Chair. Just to be clear, are you going to withdraw from the meeting when that item is discussed?
Yes, yeah.
Anything, Gareth, from the council?
No, Chair.
No, great, and welcome to Council Sarah Young. Thank you for joining us. Minutes of the previous meeting, committee members to approve the minutes for the 7th of December. Does anyone have any comments on those?
Agreed.
Agreed, noted, agreed. Yep. Great, thank you. Okay, in that case, you might have noted, I'm not sure it's still on the agenda.
It is still on the
Sorry, it is
agenda,
still on the
Chair.
agenda.
Yes.
So, agenda item 5 has been deferred and withdrawn. So we will go straight on to item 6. So actually, in
Right.
fact, you,
Myself, okay.
sorry, I got that wrrong. I thought that would be a good time for you. Great. So we'll move on to, as Councillor Potter leaves, we'll move on to item 6, which is 20 Clevedon Close. And we have Alex and Gareth, is that right?
Yes,
Great.
Gareth is virtual, but I'm here in
Fine,
person.
great, thank you.
Okay. So the application is for the change of use of 20 Clevedon Close from a community centre to a residential unit, including the installation of a cycle store. It should be noted that following the publication of committee papers, minor changes were made to the published report as outlined within the addendum, including the removal of the requirement to pay a carbon offset contribution and removal of the reference to London affordable rent. So the site currently comprises a 2-storey maisonette spanning the ground and first floor, last in use as a community centre. The maisonette sits in conjunction with maisonettes of the same size and layout in use for residential purposes. There are no locally or statutory listed buildings in the surrounding area, and the closest conservation area is the Northwold and Cazenove Conservation Area, located approximately 20 metres east of the site. The existing community centre provides approximately 74 square metres of floor space, with meeting rooms of approximately 11 square metres and an office area of approximately 17 square metres. It was last used in 2019. The facility does not provide level access and is therefore not compliant with the Disability Discrimination Act, which requires establishments and service providers that are open to the public to take reasonable steps to provide access for disabled people. The nearest housing services community centre, the Nelson Mandela Meeting Room, is located 250 metres from the site. Other housing services centres are located approximately 900 metres from the site at Hawksley Court, Becker's Community Hall and Landfield Community Centre. Non-council community facilities are also located within 300 metres, including the old fire station community centre and the Boiler House community space. The proposed residential unit would be laid out as a 2-bed, 3-person flat with a gross internal area of 74 square metres. The proposed residential unit will be social rent. No external changes are proposed, save for the installation of a cycle store within the rear garden. Given the presence of nearby community facilities that meet the standards of relevant local and national policy, officers considered that the loss of the community floor space with significant accessibility and size constraints to be replaced with genuine affordable housing is a positive response which is supported in land use terms. Overall, the development is considered to result in acceptable use, which would not cause harm to the neighbouring conservation area or give rise to any significant off-site amenity or highway impacts, and will deliver public benefits in the form of affordable housing. All other material planning considerations have been covered within the report. Officers therefore recommend that the planning permission be granted subject to conditions and a legal agreement.
Great, thank you very much. We have no objectors to this application. We have some people supporting us, I think, to answer questions only. So is that Graham, Allison? and Sarah Couley. Sarah Couley is Head of Resident Participation TMOs. Sorry, that's you. Great, fantastic. Thank you very much. Sarah's over there, and Graham is online, presumably. Does anyone know?
Yes, that's right.
Great, perfect. Thank you very much. Great. Can I just ask a quick question before we kick out to the committee? Sorry. I think I heard you say that it was just going to be social rent unit.
Yes.
In the report, it says social rent / London affordable rent.
Yes.
Has that been decided?
Yeah, that was an oversight on my behalf. It
Fine,
is social
so
rent.
it's social rent, great. Okay. Great. So essentially, the application is here because it's a Hackney Council application, change of use from a community centre that's not being used since 2019, I think, back into a social rent house. Questions? Yep. Sorry.
An objection, and that he would like to speak, but I'm not sure if he's on the list.
When did you? Could you just confirm when you emailed to register to speak?
Right, we sent the email to council on the 5th of July.
5th of July. Okay, but not for this meeting.
We've not had no reply from the
Right.
council.
Well, the deadline for register to speak for this meeting was 4 o'clock yesterday. So, what the previous iteration?
Chair, do you have a discretion to allow this gentleman to speak?
I'd like to make sure that we're talking about the same application for a start. I mean, I'd prefer not to be honest, but if let's work it out. Gareth, can you just, let's take some, can we?
I just
We wouldn't be able to do it for anyone else, would we? Every time. Sorry, can I
Fusion.
just, sorry, 1 second, thank you. Sam.
I don't think it's particularly clear. Has the gentleman objected to the planning application?
Sorry, there's a bit of confusion. It's actually Welsh Street. So that's not on.
We're not,
tonight.
yeah, sorry, we're not doing Wells Street. This is not Wells Street. It was deferred and it's not at this committee hearing, okay? Yeah, with Gareth.
Yeah, it was deferred. It is said on the published papers. It just says deferred into a future meeting. So
Sorry about that.
that's quite all right. That's fine.
That's fine. Thank you. Great. Good. Always good to be clear on what everyone's talking about, I think. Thank you. Great. Okay. Questions? Councillor Young.
I understand that this community building hasn't been used since 2019. Is that because actually it's been closed since 2019, or is it because nobody's wanted to use it?
Yes, so there was a previous tenants residents association in it up until 2019, and I believe they then vacated, and it hasn't been in use since then.
And do we know whether there is still a tenants and residents association on that estate?
I might hand it over to Sarah.
Yeah, if I can take that, no, there isn't, and there's not been any interest in setting up a tenants and residents association, though we have done work on the estate. Nobody's come forward to set up a formal group.
Thank you.
And if a TRA wanted to set itself up in the future, would there be a local facility to the estate that they could use?
Yeah, I mean, we've detailed, I think in the planning application, there are a number of alternative sites that we could use, and we have committed within resident participation to meet costs associated with that provision. So, you know, there'd be no barrier for a TRA. And what I would say is the alternative sites are, you know, accessible in a way that this 2-bedroom masonette is not.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks very much, Sarah. Yeah.
Thank you. Not sure who wants to take this one. My question is in the report 511, the proposed residential unit will be social rent or London affordable rent. So yeah, I keep coming back to this in
Sorry,
in meetings.
sorry, Councillor Joseph. That was probably, you're probably talking to the resident. That was my first question I asked, so it's confirmed as a social rent.
Is it?
So it's a
Okay.
mistake in the.
Yes, so that was,
Sorry
that
to
was
miss
set out
that.
in the addendum. Sorry, it was in.
Oh,
it's,
right. Okay, that's great. Yeah, it's really important to know because they're quite different, but that's reassuring.
Great, thanks a lot. That's all right. Any other questions, Councillor Desmond?
So I assume this was originally housing and therefore it's no problem reverting to it. I have a lot of casework relating to sound insulation with people showing great distress, even because there's children playing, which of course is not a nuisance. Children do play, even in Hackney. So can we make sure that in terms of the building control arrangements, even though this is a planning committee, but we do have ancillary engagement and the head of planning is also head of building control. Can we make sure that there's adequate insulation when works are carried out at this property?
Yep, yep.
Yes, so that is a building control, covered under the building control legislation. But the applicant has confirmed that they intend to comply with that legislation.
Yep.
It's only a small point, Chair, but I know we all know what we mean with the Disability Discrimination Act, but aren't we upgrading to the Equality Act? As in, it's all in the Equality Act nowadays. I'm just saying.
Oh, sorry, because the Equality Act is,
Yeah.
is
So
the
if,
latest version.
I mean, it's all the same thing,
Yeah, it's not the same
and
thing.
but it is now the Equality Act.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say if you can refer to that.
So in all council reports should be Equality Act, not TDA, essentially. So that probably needs changing in the report and every other report. Because TDA was, Equality Act was 2012, wasn't it, or something? Yeah. Yeah, okay. And supersedes. Councillor Joseph first.
Thanks, Chair. Hi, Sarah. I'm just noting that obviously both items tonight do involve developing community halls, and I just wondered if there's, I mean, certainly not against it, and I can see why it could be useful, but is there any panoramic look at like the cumulative effect of doing this in terms of, you know, at the moment when we're looking at this item, we're saying, well, there's 5 provisions nearby that this person could access, but then perhaps 2 weeks down the line, there's only 3 provisions left because we've also developed those. So I'm just wondering if there's a kind of overarching plan.
Okay, I think in terms of the application, we look in the immediate locality because it's about the accessibility of alternative provision. I think more broadly, we are looking at all our community assets, but we have got quite a large number in Hackney. Within housing services alone, we've got 58 community halls, we've got 13 separate community rooms, and then we've got these additional 11 flats. And then separately, in the voluntary and community sector property portfolio, we have some facilities which have got community halls and community spaces. And again, we reference one of those, the old fire station, which is quite close to this provision. I think, you know, we do need to look at it holistically, but I think, you know, certainly the ones that are council alternatives, we would be very careful to, you know, make sure that there is always that accessibility. We do look at sort of, you know, an 8-minute walk, you know, as being a sort of, you know, relatively sensible boundary to work to.
I think it's probably interesting to note as well, this is the second one of 3 that we have, because we've got 2 tonight, of what were social housing units that were turned into community sort of spaces. But clearly we had a surfeit of social housing at one point, and now now we definitely don't, you know, right? So I think we can, you know, welcome in some ways the re-provision of social housing when that's what we need. Other questions, Councillor Young?
Sorry that I have missed this. It says 2-bed, 3-person flat. Am I looking at the right one? Or was that the other one?
Yeah.
Right. So will it already is 2-bed and it will still be 2-bed, or, you know, have we looked at, I'm just very aware that we are really short of larger homes. and
Yeah, so
wondering whether
basically,
we've considered, you know, can we make this a 3-bed?
given the
chance?
constraints of the
Is it too
site,
small? Too
yeah,
small?
it wouldn't be able to house any more bedrooms.
Great,
So,
thank you. Any other questions? There's the cycle storage being added. But that's that's the only change, the external.
Yeah, that's correct
Yeah.
in the rear garden.
Okay. No other questions, in which case, let's go to vote. So the recommendation is that we grant planning permission subject to conditions in section 106 legal agreement. All those in favour, raise your hands. Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks very much for joining us. Great, so we move on to, and thank you to everyone online who joined us for that item. So we're now on item 7, similar application. This is the Jack Watts Community Flat on Detmold Road on E5, and we have Michael leading off for us, and we've got Adele as well, and a couple of people, Sarah again supporting, and Graham again supporting online. So over to you, Michael.
Sorry, are we, councillor?
Oh,
coming back?
Oh yeah, let's get councillor. Sorry, let's, if you wouldn't mind waiting, otherwise she definitely has had a pointless journey. Sorry, we can go ahead, and Councillor Potter has absented for this item as well. Thank you, John. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you. The site forms part of a 3-storey end of terrace, as you can see in the image here. It was originally built as a residential property. The proposal is to convert the property into residential use with its own dedicated bicycle to the front. The previous use was a community flat for resident association and used for local war searches, and has been vacant since March 2020, since COVID. The site was previously used as a flat and the layout remains unaltered and is therefore capable of conversion back to residential without any further internal alteration. The proposal meets our policy LP8, which requires that a loss of existing community provisions is replaced with similar facilities. And as you can see in this image, there are various community uses around the area, which the nearest one is Mount Hill Community Hall, which is about 182 meters away. And there's a further 2 others, Northwold Community Hall, Wigan Community Hall, and High Hill Community Hall. The flat contributes to meeting the housing standard of LP12, which requires self-contained flats are the priority and most urgent need. And in terms of the space standards, the space standards is just below the 50 square meter requirement, but the shortfall is acceptable. The layout and the ventilation is also acceptable. There are no design alteration or building work except for a cycle store, which is located in the front garden. As you can notice here, as noted here, this is the cycle store. And there's no amenity impact, given there's no external alterations. There's no details of waste, and that will be conditioned. And overall, the proposed acceptable in land use terms provide acceptable standard of accommodation. One other thing to note in the addendum, it was noted that in a legal agreement that affordable housing contribution this has been deleted because it's providing social rented accommodation. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so similar case from council. Can I just check as well? I mean, it might be quite useful in the future if we can have the same language for, so in 5.7.1, we've got the dwelling has been proposed as an affordable unit. Is that again, is that so that's becoming a social rent house for Hackney homes, yeah? Okay, is that what that report says? And that's, Sam, is that sort of, is that language right for us?
Are we asking whether it's going to be secured as social rent
Yeah,
as well?
basically, because the other one said secured by legal agreement. This one,
5.7.1 of the report as drafted doesn't refer to the social rent, the tenure. So, Michael, I'm not sure if you can confirm that or not, whether it will be secured as social rent.
Oh, sorry. Where are you?
Sorry, 7.2 paragraph 2 says affordable housing contribution 50,000. That has been deleted.
Sorry,
I think that there's actually there's an additional change to the.
Yes.
Sorry, it's the addendum, isn't it? Oh, right, it's in perpetuity. Right, thank you. Sorry, questions? Councillor Young, then Councillor.
Sort of same question again about the size. So in these, and I think actually in the one we had a long time ago, we're not seeking to do any significant work. So we're not seeking to, I don't know, build on an extension in the garden to create a 3-bed. Is that considered in these cases? I understand obviously it's significantly cheaper to keep it the same size and not do works, but because of the housing need, do we look at options for extending the property, increasing the size?
Due to site constraints, there is no capacity to extend. There's no rear garden, there's only a front garden. That's going to be taken up by cycle storage and waste storage, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Joseph?
Thank you, Chair. It was just a follow up to the point really. I just wanted to make a plea that in future, can we specify the tenure on all the reports? Because quite frequently recently we get these through and it's a huge difference for us if it's going to be a social rent, which is what we really, really want in the borough, or if it's, you know, because affordable housing is such a wide range, that could have meant shared ownership, could have meant anything. Just in future, if we could just clearly specify, like at the top, I would be really grateful because it helps us when we're kind of preparing and thinking about it. Thank you.
Great, noted by the officers.
Yeah, noted. Thanks, Councillor Joseph. We'll take that on board. Very useful information to provide, and we'll ensure that the reports are consistent as well, especially where the schemes are very similar.
Great, thanks a lot. Other questions? No, happy with the bicycle storage. Can I just ask, this maybe not. Oh, sorry.
I suppose we should also just check. I heard what you said, and it's in the report that there is nearby community hall provision. Again, is there an active tenants and residents association there? Are they meeting? Is the reason that they haven't met in this property because it hasn't been open, or just because they haven't met?
Sarah.
Okay, I mean, post-COVID, we reopened all facilities, and if any group had wanted to make use of the flat and any previous user, they could contact us. We haven't actively marketed it. However, the alternative facility, the Mount, is a new facility. I assume that was built after it was allocated. This particular flat was allocated to a community group, and that facility, as the officers noted, is about 182 metres away. It's fully accessible and it is a very nice modern space. So if any group wanted to reform or make use of it, you know, I would say that would be a much better quality location for their meetings and for their activities.
Thanks very much, Councillor Young. Any other questions? No. Okay, in that case, we'll go to vote on this one as well. So the recommendation is that we grant planning permission subject to conditions and section 106 legal agreement. All those in favour, raise your hands. Thank you very much. That's unanimous again. Thank you, everyone. In that case, those were the substantial items. Thanks very much to the officers, Michael and for Sarah for staying this evening. Delegated decisions. Can you note the delegated decisions? Got a question on that one, Councillor Young? Yep.
I see phase 4 of Woodbury Down is in there as a delegated decision withdrawn. Could someone just explain
Does anyone
what
have
that
any
means,
insights?
why it's in there? So right at the end of the delegated decisions, the second to last one is phase 4 of Woodbury Down development. And it says delegated
That would be
withdrawn
delegated,
decision.
isn't it?
I just don't really, presumably there wasn't planning permission before, so why is there a withdrawn decision?
Yeah. Should that be in there?
Plus it wouldn't be delegated.
It definitely wouldn't be delegated. That's the.
Just want to check I haven't missed
I think
something
if
really
we
major.
can just say that's probably unlikely to be in there. Are we able to note that and then pass the delegated decisions? Yeah.
We'll bring it back to the meeting.
Or we bring it back.
So noted, subject to
Okay,
amendment.
fine. Great. Thank you. So much. Any other comments? Thank you for being eagle-eyed, Councillor Young. Great. Any other business? I haven't had anything in writing, so that's fine. Next committee is on the 22nd of February. And other than that, thank you very much to all the officers, everyone for joining, and the councillors, and have a nice evening. I think that's it, is it? Great. There you go.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank